So the reason why we feel that we should talk about vaccination in pregnancy is because we want to just maybe set the context of COVID and pregnancy. The first thing I think that we should reassure pregnant women about is that they do not have a bigger risk to develop COVID. So we don't want to cause anxiety that pregnant women feel that they have a bigger risk of developing COVID. So that's not the case. But what we do know is if pregnant women becomes COVID positive, they have bigger risks. And that we know from good epidemiological data that was collected since COVID is with us. So if you compare the cohort of pregnant women to non-pregnant women who are COVID positive, if you are pregnant and have COVID, you have a bigger risk of being admitted to ICU. You have a bigger risk of requiring ventilatory support and oxygen, and you have a bigger risk of dying. So that's on the maternal side, and then specific obstetric issues that we know that there's a higher risk of preterm birth or preterm delivery. There's a higher risk of developing preeclampsia, which is something very specific to pregnancy. And we know that there is a higher risk of having a cesarean section. So that in a nutshell, I think puts the context of the importance of COVID and specifically in pregnancy. We are very serious and feel that pregnant women actually forms a vulnerable group and should be vaccinated. The second part of the question, why do we say only from 14 weeks onwards and why not from the beginning of pregnancy? There are two reasons. One is that the National Department of Health had a memorandum that went out end of June where they recommended vaccination to pregnant women after the gestation of 14 weeks. And I think if we came out with a different statement, it would have caused some confusion. The second thing is, I think there would be a concern amongst pregnant women about the risk of miscarriage. What we do know from limited data, so we must admit that it is limited data, that there is at the moment no indication of an increased risk of having a spontaneous miscarriage if you get the vaccine. But the numbers are still small, and we are very confident and optimistic that as more data accumulates over the next couple of months, that we might change that recommendation in time to say that women would be able to get the vaccine irrespective of their gestation. So what we want to actually recommend or propose to women who are pregnant, please discuss that with your primary caregiver about vaccination. Yeah, so in terms of the data, unfortunately in the vaccine trials, the phase 2 and phase 3 trials, pregnant women were excluded. So there is almost no data available from the phase 2 and phase 3 vaccine trials. But since vaccine has been rolled out, pregnant women did receive the vaccines. And as time is going by, a lot of data is accumulating. And some of that data, and that's obviously now post-marketing data, has been published already. There's been data published by the CDC, there has been a small study published in the New England Journal of Medicine earlier this year. So the data that we have is not sort of anecdotal data. It's published, it's out there in the literature for anyone and everyone to read. And obviously, as time goes on, the data will increase, and I think within the next couple of months we will have a lot of data. I don't know whether you want me to share some of the data with you, and maybe speak a little bit about safety. No? So I think any pregnant woman would be concerned about the vaccine and whether the vaccine is safe to take in pregnancy. So maybe we should first look at animal data, and 3 of the major vaccines were tested in animals, in rats, where the vaccine was given to rats pre-mating and also to rats when they were already pregnant. And they looked at outcome measures. So from all of the animal studies, we know that there were no adverse events with regards to congenital anomalies of the rats. There were no fertility issues, and there were no adverse outcomes reported, which is different from non-COVID vaccine population. So first of all, the animal studies are very reassuring. So, and as I said, there has been now already some human data available, which was published. A registry of about 135,000 pregnant women were published. Now, obviously, that is self-reported adverse events, but there were no adverse events different to a non-pregnant population published or reported. And then I referred to a publication in the New England Journal of Medicine of earlier in the year, where they reported on 275 completed pregnancies, and they looked at pregnancy outcome data and then specific neonatal outcome data. So there was no difference with regards to gestational diabetes, preeclampsia, eclampsia, or intrauterine growth restriction with regards to pregnancy outcome, and specifically with regards to neonatal outcome, the rates of preterm birth, of congenital anomalies, of small for gestation infants, and of neonatal death was comparable to historic data from the general population. So that is available. So I think at this stage we can safely say that pregnant women need not be concerned about the safety of the vaccine. Very, very good question. There was a concern, there was sort of a myth raised that the vaccine might cause infertility. And what it all was about was there was an allegation that the protein in the vaccine that causes the antibodies to be formed, or to which the antibodies are formed, had a similar structure to a protein that is important in placentation. So the allegation was made that if you now have antibodies against this protein, that it might sort of deactivate that specific protein, syncytin, and that it would be harmful or detrimental to placentation. But that has been sorted out. That is a myth. That is definitely not true. And if it in fact was true, then actually women who had COVID, because they also get the antibodies, would also have had a risk of not falling pregnant and being infertile. And we know that's not the case. So I think that has been sorted out, and we actually recommend to women who want to fall pregnant is to take the vaccine even before they fall pregnant. But there would be no consequence even if they go into fertility treatment. So no issues around fertility. Yeah, we are obviously I think, as you're aware, around Women's Day, we had a press release specifically to advocate and to encourage women to go for vaccination, non-pregnant, but more specifically so pregnant women, and I think that is where you picked it up. Some of us have been in interviews already as well. That press release has also been posted on our website. So anyone that wants to go on our website can go and read that. But we should maybe expand on our awareness. I was phoned by one of our executive committee members this morning who got reports that some women were denied having the vaccine that who were pregnant. And I think we should make sure that women who do attend the vaccination clinics and sites, that they do get their vaccine and that they are not turned away. And therefore, we are very grateful for the cabinet that announced yesterday that the 18 to 34-year-old cohort of the population could start vaccinating today, because that is exactly the age group where most women are pregnant. So we hope to see that there will be a big uptake of vaccination amongst pregnant women.